Yo, what's good, my people? So, a bit of noise coming out from Yahoo Sports. I believe Jake Fisher, whatever his name is, saying something like the Houston Rockets will be open to shopping Jalen Green for star talent. And if I'm being honest, would I read too much into this article? No. And he's kind of stating the obvious in a way. But before I give my true opinions, please like the video, share, subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, first of all, you guys bugging out about this article. I wouldn't read too much into it because, first of all, it's Jake Fisher. I'm not saying he's unreliable, but it came out of nowhere. Not saying it's the most credible source of all time. Second of all, you're kind of stating the obvious. Like, star talent to the Houston Rockets could be a Jalen Brown. If Jalen Brown's available, are you trading Jalen Green? I'd say yes, only if you get the sense that Jalen Brown would resign. You know, if you're really having the ambitions of being a playoff team, you're going to have to sacrifice something. Now, this isn't me saying that they're going to trade Jalen Green, but it's the obvious. Like, if a star player becomes available, hypothetically saying, I don't know, a Zach LaVine, maybe even a Trae Young, yeah, they're going to want Jalen Green in return. And would I do it? Potentially, if I have James Harden on the roster, plus other guys I'm signing for agency, then probably. But this article is really a load of nothing, in my opinion. Second of all, it's not the most credible, so I wouldn't necessarily read too much into it. And as a whole, like I said, it's kind of stating the obvious. Like, if a star player becomes available, the other team is going to want a guy like Jalen Green. The Houston Rockets will probably contemplate it because you're just fast forwarding your process to becoming a playoff team. But at the same time, it doesn't definitively say the Houston Rockets are shopping Jalen Green. So people that are reading into it that way, you're interpreting the source very incorrectly because it doesn't say that. And second of all, it could be a thing where this guy's reaching for clicks so he can get people like me talking about it, for example. But realistically, I don't really think this article means too much. Like saying the Phoenix Suns were not going to trade Mikal Bridges for anything. KD became available, they traded KD. The report could have came out a year before saying the Suns would be open to shopping Mikal Bridges if it was for a superstar talent. It's kind of the obvious. You're not going to hold on to Jalen Green for that level of player, even though Jalen Green has a lot of potential. You're going to do that. So this report is a whole load of nothing because realistically, if let's say the Chicago Bulls were willing to part ways with both Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Bearing in mind, DeMar's a bit older, so his trade value may not be that high, and he's on the last year of his deal. You could package him next to a Zach LaVine. Would I be interested in potentially throwing in a Kevin Porter Jr. or Jalen Green? Maybe. I'm not saying I would. So these are the kind of things which are getting reported, which are kind of staying the obvious. But at the same time, any GM in their right mind would consider these type of things. Like, the Atlanta Hawks are allegedly considering shopping Trae Young. I'm not saying they do it, but everyone has the thought of doing certain things to make your team better. It doesn't mean they're going to do it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, if the offer's actually there, they would. Having a thought is very normal. And then next of all, let's just think logically now. Let's say the Rockets don't get Wembanyama, they get the second pick and draft Scoot Henderson. They land James Harden in free agency. You then have a guard rotation or a backcourt of James Harden, Kevin Porter Jr., Scoot Henderson, and Jalen Green. It sounds nice on paper, but you're very top heavy in the guard department. Realistically speaking, you'd probably look to potentially trade one of those guys to, make your 5 position a bit more stronger or make you a lot stronger at the 3 position. I'm not saying these are areas of need, but I'm just using hypothetical scenarios. So if someone like Pascal Siakam potentially became available, that's something you may look into doing. So this report is not only random, it states the obvious, and I wouldn't stress too much. It doesn't mean Rafael Stone's going to trade Green for a bunch of rocks or nothing. If anything, it's a credit to Green because it shows if any star player becomes available, what are they likely going to ask for a return? They're not going to want KJ Martin as the centerpiece of a trade, even though KJ is a nice role player. They're going to want someone like Green because he's the shining jewel of the Houston Rockets kind of young core alongside Kevin Porter Jr. and Sengun. So the teams are going to want those type of players. And if you have to pick between the two, you need to think logically. Hypothetically, if it gets to that point, I know I said that word 1,000 times. Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green. There may be similar level players in the future. Does Green have slightly more potential? Potentially. Cool. But then again, Kevin Porter Jr. is on a steal of a contract for the next 4 years with barely any of it being guaranteed. You're probably going to have to throw Jalen Green a bag in 2 years above in excess of $35 million a season. So logistically, it may make more sense to keep Kevin Porter Jr. alongside the other guys you may acquire in free agency, as it may give you more flexibility. That doesn't necessarily mean Jalen Green is a terrible player and they're going to throw him away for nothing. So if it does get down to that point, I think that will be the logical reasoning behind the decision. But overall, Jalen Green's not going anywhere. Let's be dead serious. And if he does, you'll see someone like Jalen Brown in return, hypothetically. I said that word way too much and it's pissing me off, but the reaction I'm seeing on Twitter doesn't really make any sense because the article's a whole load of nothing, and Jalen Green's going to be a Houston Rocket, let's be real. But that's my opinions on this video. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe if you like my content. But without further ado, that's me done. I'm out. Peace.